Welcome back to Trust the Effing Podcast. We're finally chatting about meditation in this episode. Have you tried it? Do you have a practice? Do you have any preconceived notions of what meditation is? In today's show, Jen and I chat about our first meditation experiences, ideas of what we thought was supposed to be happening while meditating, and how practicing meditation has truly changed our lives. It has allowed us a deeper connection to self and helped with overthinking, anxiety, and even postpartum symptoms. We hope you will stay with us till the end and will share your meditation insights or experiences as well. We love hearing from you and are so truly grateful to be growing this community with you. Please follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share. We greatly appreciate your support. Now, on to today's show.
So, Rebecca, why and when did you start meditating?
Oh my goodness. You know what? I was actually thinking about this the other day. And when I was a child, I used to get to do these day camps in the summer, and they were drama camps. And these people were really the most intelligent people ever that ran the camp because we would be playing and doing dress up and theater stuff. And like it was super fun. And we're crazy kids and screaming and yelling. And then at the very end of the day, right before our parents picked us up, the last half hour, they bring us back inside and they would dim the lights and then they would guide us through what I now know was a meditation. It was more like a visualization, but I remembered loving them. So I think that was when I first learned about it, but I didn't realize, obviously, that I was meditating. But I can remember how peaceful I felt. And lucky for my mom, who's just finished work, to pick up two children that are actually like sleepy instead of rambunctious and crazy.
Bouncing off the walls.
So, yeah, so I think that's how they got a lot of kids to return the next year. But no, when I started when I started meditating as an adult, I got into yoga a little bit, I guess is how it started. And I kept hearing more about meditation, but it made me nervous because I was definitely an overthinker. I was always thinking all the time. And well, here's a funny story. Actually, this is the first time I tried to go to a meditation club. So my friend and I went to this yoga retreat out of town for a weekend. I did yoga a little bit at that point, and she did it a little. It was a beautiful place, and the first class that was available was a meditation class. So we were like, "All right, let's go try this out. We're open to whatever happens this weekend. Let's see." So we go into this room, and most of the ladies were a little older than us, and I don't know, to me, they looked experienced. I don't know what an experienced yogi or meditator looks like, but that's what I thought at the time. And so everyone unrolls their mats and they're putting like a cushion down and they're getting all excited. And the teacher comes in and she sits down in front of everyone and she said, "Okay, this is going to be a 45-minute meditation. Close your eyes, get comfortable." And then she didn't talk anymore. She did not guide us through a meditation. It was a silent
What?
meditation. So, of course, I'm sitting there and I'm fidgeting. Like, I'm like, what's happening? What am I supposed to be doing right now? Am I supposed to be
Mhm.
thinking something? Am I not supposed to be thinking? A fly keeps landing on me. Literally, this happened. I'm trying to keep my eyes closed, right? Fly
Mhm.
lands on my knee, a fly lands on my shoulder, a fly lands on my nose. Finally, I'm feeling so much angst and I don't know, maybe anxiety within me that I get up and I roll up my mat and I walk out of the class and I go to the bathroom and I bawl my eyes out. I think I'm a failure.
No.
I can't meditate. All these women, as I'm walking out, I see them all sitting there calm and I didn't realize it's because that is not a good first meditation experience. That's for
Oh
people
my
who've been
goodness.
even today, 12, 13 years later, I rarely don't do guided meditation. I really enjoy having someone give me cues, what to say, how to breathe, what to focus on. So the
Mhm.
fact that she didn't even have music on or anything, it was just like awkward silence. And it was terrible. I'll be honest, it was terrible. And I cannot believe that I actually tried it again, considering that first experience. But I did try it again, and I tried it in my bathtub. by myself in my home, in my safe space, and I put on a nice guided meditation. And I think it was by Deepak Chopra.
Yeah.
And he uses mantras. So he says a little kind of spiritual lesson or story at the beginning for a few minutes. And then he shares a mantra that you repeat, and they're in Sanskrit, but he tells you what it means in English as well. So it might be, you know, I am safe, or freedom, emotional freedom was one that I used to practice a lot. And so it would only be like
Mhm.
10 minutes. And so the first one I did was sitting in my bathtub, and I closed my eyes and I just listened to what he said, and I tried to repeat the mantra over and over. And the great thing is he would give you these cues of like, if you've lost the mantra and you've gone into your own thoughts, and because for me, I probably went into my grocery list and that guy I dated 7 years
Mhm.
ago and what I might be doing today and what I'm going to wear later on. And I was definitely an overthinker. So he would say, if you get lost in your thoughts, as soon as you realize you're lost, come back to the mantra, come back to
Yeah.
the mantra. Because I really, at the beginning, kind of thought like I sucked at meditation. I really
Mhm.
thought, okay, people sit down and they must go into the Zen place. And I was not in a Zen place and my thoughts weren't stopping. So I thought, just like at that retreat, like I really, it clearly, it triggered me to the fact that I became so emotional. And, and it brought up feelings of me being a failure, which no one ever wants to feel like that. So with the Deepak ones, I just kept going. I said, okay, I'm going to keep trying this. I kept kind of getting spiritual nudges. Throughout the day, I would have these thoughts that would come into my mind about meditation, try meditation, keep going with meditation. And it wasn't just in my thoughts. Like I was doing yoga more at that time, and people were talking about meditation. One
Mhm.
teacher would always invite me to do these breathing classes with him that I did a few times, which I didn't realize at the time were also a type of meditation. So I think it was quite a journey from back then, and it was hard. I just didn't think it was easy. I didn't at the beginning, like that day I was in the bathtub. I felt good when I was done it. I did feel
Mhm.
good. I noticed that. Now, did I do it right? Now I know I did it right. You're never doing it wrong, right? It's a practice. And I think that's the
Mhm.
key word that people don't mention a lot about meditation. It's a practice. And if you've never done it before, it's going to take time to get good at it. And I found it really difficult for sure. Like it frustrated me some days a lot, but I kept coming back and I committed to it. I made a real commitment that I was going to cry this. And if you cry, it's okay. If you
Yep.
get angry at yourself and think that you suck, like now in retrospect, I realized that I also had a lot of negative talk towards myself inside of myself that I hadn't been aware of before. And that's what the
Mhm.
meditation was bringing up. So it was working because
Yeah.
meditation, it taught me to become aware of my thoughts
Mhm.
where I wasn't aware of them before. They were kind of in control of me versus me being more in control of them. So
Yeah.
it was definitely a practice, but it was one that right away I enjoyed. I just equally found it frustrating. Did you have any similar experiences like that? Was it hard for you?
Yeah, it was incredibly hard for me. I'm thinking of one of the previous shows we did where we talked about when we first started experiencing our awakening. And it was for me back in 2012, roughly, when a friend gave me a Louise Hay CD. And I would listen to that over and over and over. And as you were talking, I'm thinking, that was kind of a form of meditation for me to sit and
Yeah.
listen to that and recite the affirmations. And I didn't even realize it at the time. But I remember during that time of awakening and coming across Louise Hay and then Abraham Hicks, hearing about meditation and having this image of these pot smoking new age hippies, and contorting their bodies or sitting for hours on a pillow with incense burning. Like that was my image of meditation. I'm like, well, that's not for me. And that is not my jam. And fast forward to 2015 when I gave birth to my daughter Lily. And about Since postpartum, I had recognized that I was experiencing some physiological symptoms. And it started with like sweats and chest pain and racing thoughts. And the pain would jump all over the place. It wasn't just in like one spot. I would feel pain like up in my right side and then down in my left side and then up in my shoulders. And then it would go down into my abdomen and the pain would jump around and it would be stabbing pain or a dull ache. It moved a lot and my heart would be racing at the same time. So I'm like, oh my
Oof.
gosh, I think I'm having like a heart problem. I think I have heart issues. I remember going to my doctor 3 months postpartum for just a checkup. He asked me, "So how are you feeling? How are things going?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, by the way." It wasn't like I made this intentional appointment to discuss it. Yeah. Yeah, by the way, I think I'm having a heart attack on a daily
Yeah.
basis. And he's like, "Oh," he says, "And you waited all this time to tell me? How long has this been going?" And I'm like, about 3 months since I had the baby."
Oh my
And
goodness.
so yeah, so he took a minute to kinda chastise me a little on waiting so long to speak up, and then he says, "Well, we're gonna put you through some tests." You know, he listened to my heart, and he said my heart rate was elevated, my breathing was erratic, and then he said, "Put you through some tests." And so he did. Everything came back normal in the end. All these tests came back normal, I was healthy. He brought me back in for my follow-up appointment to explain the results to me. He says, I don't know what's going on with you, Jen. All the tests are showing that you're perfectly fine and healthy and everything's good." And I'm like, well, it could be further from the truth. I still feel pain every day. I'm still having these ghost pains and these racing thoughts and the sweats. I was sweating like crazy. I wasn't sleeping. Of course, a 3-month-old baby, you know, there was no sleep, I was constantly breastfeeding, and she wouldn't let me put her down, so I was constantly carrying her around, I couldn't do anything more than carry her around and feed her on demand. So, he says to me, "Well, it is my experience that patients know themselves best, so why don't you tell me, what do you think is going on?" And I thought,
Wow.
"Wow, this is very interesting." I had never been asked this question by a healthcare provider before, and it sent me for a loop. So I sat there and thought for a moment. And I said, "Well, geez, doc, I really think what I'm experiencing is anxiety. I've read a little bit recently about panic attacks and anxiety, and I feel like that's what I'm experiencing." And he says, "Well, that's easy. I've got a pill for that." Oh my goodness, Beck. I'm telling you, when he said that, my first instinct was to recoil and ask
Oh,
him, "Why the hell would you prescribe a pill for me when I'm breastfeeding my new infant child?"
yeah.
As a brand new breastfeeding mother, there's no way I'm gonna take some kind of drug, put it in my body, and let it go into her. And so he says, "Well, we can give you something that starts low dose, that's not as impact." So he says, "Well, what would you suggest then? If you think this is what you're experiencing, what do you think you need to do?" And I said, "Well, that's your job to tell me what I should do. What do I do for anxiety and panic that doesn't include a pill?" And he said, "Well, I think that's something you need to get into and research." He says, "Because
Whoa.
I'm a doctor, I prescribe medication." He said, "So if you have another idea, then you can explore that and let me know." A very interesting moment for me because he had been my doctor for several years and treated me and my husband at the time and my kids. And I was very pleased with him for most of our care, but this was upsetting to me. I feel like he
Yeah.
was really failing and letting me down. And I decided pretty much right then that I did not want him for my doctor anymore.
Mm.
So I did follow what he recommended though. And I went back and I started to research natural remedies for anxiety and panic. And what I received was information on meditation. And so this was my light bulb moment that led me down the pathway to explore meditation. And so it started with guided meditations that I would find on YouTube University, like we've talked about before, because YouTube has everything. If you want
Everything.
some really good free
Mhm.
meditations. Go on YouTube, you can
Yep.
find a plethora of them. So I started there. I started downloading music on my phone I could listen to on my headphones
Mhm.
and just taking time to sit and enjoy the music and relax and kind of become in a meditative state from that point. And it really helped a lot. Fast forward a year when I went back to work and I was invited to a law enforcement wellness program for a day by somebody on the job that was running the program. And one of the practices inside the wellness program was mindfulness meditation. And when we were
Oh,
around as a group, there was a group of us in this day long program. When we sat around and began the meditative instruction, the instructor guided us to simply use our breath as an anchor. So we close our eyes and we just start noticing our breathing. Don't change the
mm,
breath, just notice it. And then when we
yeah.
start to feel thoughts, when we start to experience thoughts, the monkey mind, as they call it,
Yes.
to not make an attempt to remove the thought or push it away, just notice it and then return to the breath as an anchor.
Mm,
And this was such freedom for me to learn this technique. I felt like it unlocked something inside of me that
mm,
felt refreshing and new. And at the end of that class, I went to the instructor and I said, I want to be part of this class. I want to be I want to
wow.
be an instructor. I want to learn how to continue on deepening my meditation practice. And I want to use it to help others. I want to share this with others because in law enforcement, we are constantly in survival mode. We are constantly
Yes.
dealing with the racing thoughts. And a lot of it is anticipation. For me, it was anyway. I guess I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it was constant anticipation of what was going to happen
Right.
when you would get called to a call. You know, you were constantly thinking of a multitude of different things that can happen. And how can you anticipate how you're going to react to that? When you're driving the car, lights and sirens 100 miles an hour, and you're going to an in progress burglary or a domestic incident, and you're constantly rolling over different possible outcomes. Learning to focus in on my breathing for me to ease some of that turmoil that goes on inside of you when you're responding to calls. And so seeing the
Mm,
value in that, I knew I had to be part of this program. So it was also involving hands-on horse training, interestingly. And the program was to learn how to drive a horse, how to lead a horse all in hand using body language, no verbal techniques. It was all using your body language and your energy and your intention to lead a horse or to drive a horse in hand. And it was absolutely incredible how you can make the connection between mindfulness and meditation into leading a horse. So I went through the month-long training with the horses and with the initial instructor to learn the mindfulness meditation techniques, and then I became a facilitator and got to lead these beautiful
wow.
law enforcement
Mm.
wellness programs. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so very incredible. And horses are so healing as well. We can talk about that in another show, but I know one of my clients, she runs a healing center with horses. The
Mhm.
horses, they really will show you what you're needing or how you're showing up. And like, I know she
Mhm.
has a whole program set up, but I just think it's wow. I think you're so blessed that you got to experience that. And
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a possibility. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. And I bet,
Yeah.
I guess I would ask you, did you find that it helped you with the anticipatory anxiety? Like, were you able to calm your mind and then enter wherever the call or wherever you're entering the scene, I guess, at a more present level? Like, did you feel more in
Yes.
control then? Oh, that's
Yes, but
great.
the key is, like you said, it's a practice, and it's a practice for a reason because the more you practice it, the more
Yeah.
peace and calm and focus and clarity that you experience, you know?
Yeah.
And if I had to pinpoint a really relevant or important reason for somebody to start meditating, I'm recalling, like, you see the memes and stuff about riding the waves, learning how to surf, you know? And
Oh,
it does. Like,
mhm.
meditation allows you to ride the waves of life in a more calm and focused way instead of an emotionally charged, white knuckling kind of way that a lot of us do.
Yeah, I mean, the societies that we have grown up in is a very go, 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 go. You're supposed to be busy. You're supposed to be productive. And there's not a lot of focus on having these calmer moments and even getting to know your inner world. And I think that's something that meditation really taught me. I can see everything going on outside of me, and maybe my life at that time felt chaotic or whatever, but I didn't realize that chaos was inside of me and that I had some work to do in order to I had held a lot in. So there was a lot in there. So if you could imagine like shoving things under a rug until there's huge mountains that you're tripping over, that's basically what was going on inside my body. And so when I would try to meditate in the beginning, especially that first one, when she just was like, okay, here we go. And then it was silence.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All that stuff inside of me was like trying to come up. And oh, no, 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 no. I didn't have the
Yeah.
tools at that time to understand even what was happening. I just knew it didn't
Mhm.
feel good. And I do think meditation above all, and I mean, my practice has grown and it's changed and evolved and it's taught me so much more about myself. But at that time in the beginning, it really just allowed me to become aware of my thoughts and that not all my thoughts were true. Like, I didn't realize that. I'd never taken the time to even think about it, I don't think. So
Yeah.
every time something came in my head, it felt like it was supposed to be true information, and it wasn't. A lot of it was me worrying or me overthinking or me having anticipatory anxiety. Like, if you had asked me back then, I would not have even told you that I had anxiety. Like, I had so
Mhm.
much blocked off that I wasn't even connected with what was going on. And I also had a lot of ways of unhealthier habits to cope that, since then. And I think through part of my meditation practice has allowed me to alleviate or rewire or change some of those so that I can be more present. I think looking back, I don't think I was present almost at all. Like, I think I was always either in the future or in the past in old memories. But again, I'm thinking of what might
Yeah.
happen or what might not happen or what they might say or what I said to them 3 weeks ago or what I said to them friggin' 3 years ago. Like, why are we still wasting all this energy? And I remember, and I think it was David G, and he's a wonderful meditation teacher that I followed back then. He was on YouTube or some other free ones. He has wonderful offerings. But I found him, and one of the things he used to say is imagine each of your thoughts as a cloud and allow it to
Mhm.
just pass by. Don't try to not think it. Don't try to be like, oh no, I'm thinking about the grocery again. Oh no, I'm thinking about, whatever. Just realize it's there and allow
Yeah.
it to pass by. And I think that alone was one of the biggest tools that I was ever offered because I wasn't
Yeah.
letting the thoughts pass by. I was grasping onto them and then kind of living in that and it would spiral.
Mhm.
And if
Yeah.
anyone out there has had one thought that maybe triggers them or causes fear or anxiety, and then another thought comes, and then another thought comes, and then it turns into a whole spiral, and then you're an emotional mess. That was how I was kicking it most of the time. Meditation greatly calmed me. And I guess this is something else I should ask you. I had thought meditation or when people meditated, that they just went to the Zen place. Like they just dropped in to some Zen moment, and that's what I was supposed to be trying to do. And I thought I was a failure because I was clearly not doing that. So, were you like me, where you were still having the thoughts and all the stuff? Or did you think that you were going to right away go to a Zen place or some other world or something? Like, what did you think meditation was going to be like? I know that sounds silly now, but that's what I thought. I thought Okay, people do
Yeah.
meditation and they're all calm and they look all peaceful. They
Mhm.
must be going to the light. And I was
Yeah.
not going there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I had this belief that when you meditate, you just blank out. Like, it just turns or black, like there's nothing,
Yeah.
and it's just like a blanket of peace. But that never happened for me, and I just like you,
No.
I could not get rid of my thoughts, and that's not even the purpose now. We know that, right? Because you and I, we've been doing this for a number of years. You said you've
Yeah.
been doing it more than 12 years. I think I'm almost at 10 years of practicing
Wow.
meditation.
Okay.
And I've never had that experience of just blankness, you know? I usually I call it going to my happy place.
Yes.
Oftentimes,
Oh,
if I'm gonna sit and meditate, outside of, like, a guided meditation, and I use a lot of apps, like, I think I started with Headspace, the app Headspace,
oh,
which is a
neat.
really great app for beginning meditation, and then I went on to find Insight Timer, which has a lot of beautiful
Mm.
meditations, guided meditations, and breath work. And now sometimes I use the Calm app as well, and I'm calling in right now for us a sponsor from any of these apps.
Yes.
Yes, that would be awesome if we could get a sponsor. If you're all listening out there, we want Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer, any of those to sponsor our podcast. That'd be great. And that's actually where I discovered David G was on Insight Timer. He's got a
Oh,
beautiful voice and some incredible
well,
guided visualizations and meditation practices. I really enjoy him so much. But when I was using Headspace to start with, you know, they instruct you on there to similar to what you said when a thought comes in, just like touching a feathered glass, just lightly tap it away, you know?
oh,
And, I would go to my happy place, which is on the beach. I love my happy place is sitting on a sandy beach with the waves gently rolling in and out, and the sky is blue,
okay.
sun, and the seagulls are singing, and there's a breeze, and I can smell the salty air. That's my happy place. I would go there. I would let my thoughts drift in and out like the clouds, gently tapping them away. And that was really my meditation practice for the first couple of years until I started to find these more beautiful, deeper guided meditations and practices. And then ultimately breath work, which has been so profound
Yeah.
for me. The breathing meditations are really my favorite thing to do now. So I would recommend to people that are starting out, go to your happy place, find that place. Maybe it's in nature,
Yes.
maybe it's in the forest, maybe it's on the beach like me, maybe it's somewhere different like your childhood bedroom, if you felt that was a safe place of peace for you. And just take time to breathe and let your thoughts, because they're going to run. Your thoughts are there. We can't get rid of them, and we're not meant to. That's another important thing I think to know about meditation.
Yeah.
You're never going to get rid of your thoughts. They're always going to be there. But just like you said, don't believe every thought that you think. Don't follow it, because when we go into following our thoughts, especially negative ones, it's like the spiral downward. You know, one
Mm.
negative thought turns into another negative thought. Next thing you know, we're generating a whole negative story from that, and we're pulling ourselves away from our meditative practice. So
Yeah.
that would be my recommendation. What would you recommend for somebody new to meditation?
If you don't like the person's voice, don't listen to that one. You know, if like find something you do enjoy. If you don't feel comfortable with doing the mantras that were in Sanskrit like I did, there's ones in English. Or maybe there's some that are more focusing on your breath. I remember doing some of those in the beginning too, where it would just be breathing. So you'd be paying attention to your breath. And every time you realized you
Mhm,
weren't paying attention to your breath anymore, come back
mhm,
to your breath. And there'd be someone saying it, like they'd be telling me, go back to your breath. So it wasn't so much pressure on me to try to do it correctly or do it right. And also don't have that. Like go into it being open to just allowing it to be what it is and not looking to be like good at it or to be, a professional meditator right off the hop
yeah.
or it's all okay. That's what else I learned with meditation. Whatever shows up is okay. Like it's totally okay. If things outside of you are loud and going off and you
Mhm,
having trouble focusing, that's okay. That's normal. We aren't always able to focus at all times of every day, much less in meditation. If there's a lot of stress going on in your life, it's going to take longer to ground and center. And I think that's what meditation has allowed for me, grounding
Mhm.
and centering. So it's truly felt like a gift.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. We love to hear from you, so please leave us a comment or review on the platform you heard us on today. Be sure to hit that bell and subscribe so you get notified every time we upload a new episode. You can also send us an email at trusttheeffingpodcast@gmail.com if you are looking for additional support in your awakening journey. And a look at the bigger picture with Rebecca, you can find her on all social media platforms with her business handle at Trust the Effing Process. If you are a woman looking for holistic health and weight loss support and would like a consultation, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Jennifer Fleishman _health coach or email me, jennifer@jenniferfleischman.com. And of course, all this information will be linked in the show notes so you can check those out. Always know that you are exactly where you should be at any given moment in your life. And everything is unfolding as it should be. So keep meditating and trust the effing podcast.